All right, guys, for this project, first make note that the only reason you'd be watching this is if you need a little refresher course. You were absent the day that I ended up covering mandalas. There's two parts to it. One, I would first check out the video that I ended up putting together showing everything from the PowerPoint that I showed the rest of the class. But to summarize, you're going to be creating your own mandala that's going to be using the space of the whatever size paper I end up giving you, whether it's 12 by 12, 10 by 10, whatever that is. But here's just an example of a mandala. So a mandala is a design that is usually in a radial symmetry, meaning that it's circular, but does not have to always be that way. But in addition to that, there's consistent repetition from the center going outwards. So anyway, to learn more about this, I would want you to watch the video that I shared with the class from the University of North Carolina with the time lapse on the mandala that was created. And then that'll give you a little bit more history behind the mandala. But then in addition to that, I would like you to watch the short video that I did about mandalas, about the PowerPoint, which I already said. So to get started, you first have to figure out, well, what type of design do I want to do? Do I want to go traditional like this one? Or do I want to go like asymmetrical and do something different? So doing something that would be non-traditional would be, instead of you doing a circular design, maybe you end up, like I had one student do a guitar, and then they ended up doing radial designs from that. I had one student do a tiger and do mandala designs within that tiger. So, but I'm going to going the traditional route. So with doing that, to get started, you first need to figure out what is that layout going to look like. So I'm going to lightly sketch on here. So I like to follow the traditional, and with that, that would kind of be, it would have an eye design within it. But if you don't want to go that route and you want to go look on the internet and dig for some ideas, that's cool too. So after I just loosely sketch this, that would just be to give me a reference on how much space I'm going to need for everything. Now after I have this simple, it kind of looks like two capital I's going different directions. Maybe one direction is Iowa State, the other is Iowa. But then with this, I need to start with a radial design, and then I have to figure out what maybe I would imply for each layer. So with this, in the video that's on the PowerPoint video, that covers the expectations on what you have to have in it. But this one is more or less just to get you a simple understanding. Wow, that is not really showing up for you guys. Let me go over with marker. All right, so we're going to start off with just getting your central circle, and then I was wanting to do it in pencil, but it's not showing up. So, because I would want to lightly do this and then go back and cut into it and redesign it. So I'm saying that this general design I want to have on the outside, and then I'm going to start with the circle on the inside. But a lot of a mandala is repetition, so maybe I somehow incorporate this tops of eyes within maybe the center, or maybe I imply that this continues and maybe follows through with the design right here in the middle. But then after I have that, then I would, make it a little bit different. This is given a loose sketch, a rough draft. By no means is this anywhere near what a final draft should look like. So I'm saying I did this just because it's continuation, going out from those spots. And then in this space right here, I would then create a new design. So maybe I have the repetition of this leaf coming out in those same spots. And then maybe I would throw in a leaf design right here. So it's all about repetition and symmetry. And this is not something that should take 2 weeks for you to do. The other thing is, it's a huge thing, is positive and negative space, meaning black and white space. So after I get the outline of this all done, then I would need to figure out what spaces I'm going to fill in solid. And then you want to think about doing maybe a different design within each one. There's just so you can really push yourself really far on this project. So maybe I'm going to go simple with this next one and do like a thin outline bead around the outside of this whole thing. Size contrast is huge too. So if you have some things that are really big and then you have some things that are really small, that's going to really complement it. It's going to look really awesome. Whereas if you end up having everything super big, it's a little distracting. It can be the same if everything's just extremely small, because people don't know what to look at. Whereas if you vary the size, it's just a little bit more appealing to the eye to be able to kind of stagger and look at different stuff. So now I have that. I'm going to want to make this, I'm going to repeat some of this circular design and maybe go out here. So I ended up having a curve right here, and then I have the curve with the circle, and so I'm going to try to extend and repeat that coming right outside here. Okay, and then maybe I replicate that curve and do something similar to that to close those points off. But definitely look on your Google Classroom at the student examples that I'm going to share out, and look at the video on the PowerPoint, and then you'll be able to see some examples of ones that are finished that looks really, really good. And so this is just a starting template. So I've got 1 space, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I could even do something in this space too. So definitely want to push yourself and just go layer, 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 and focus on the radial symmetry throughout. Another way to be able to make stuff, if you're like, I cannot do that, maybe this leaf design, maybe you end up creating one that's really good, cut that out, and use that as a stencil. And then you just keep going around to each spot and then tracing it out and making them all the exact same. So that would be pretty sweet too. So hopefully this helped you out and gives you a good reference to get started.